Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and I wanted to share this trader's. He sent me three of his trades the other day. Very, very nice trades, very good reads. I mean, he follows the rules to the T, and he has three really good trades here. And I asked him if he minded me sharing them with the group because people love to see these live trades and love to see it in action, and it's not always easy for me to get students to send me good trades because they're usually not following the rules and they're not doing everything right. But this guy's following everything to the T, and I congratulated him on three good trades, and his response was, "Hey, I'm just following the rules, doing it like you taught it," and he says he's having great success. So I'm going to show you at least three of his successful trades. I know they're live trades. I'm going to blank it out where you can't see his account number down here, but it pops up and tells his account number. So I know they're legitimate, and he appears to be doing all the right things. You can see on this trade, I'll set this trade up for you, but you can see you got a trend coming down and you get a break here. And what you really get is you get a two-legged correction, which should lead to another move. Could be an equal move down, but at the very least, you would expect prices to test these lows on a trend that's been working this long. I can't see all of his chart, but this trend line definitely looks valid. We got the break. He's got we've started back down again. We bounced at the lows. That's not uncommon. You'll see that. It'll take a couple of tries to get through, but then he has this correction and he gets a first entry, and it's about to set up on a second entry. And he's got his sell order down here, and you'll watch him. What he'll try to do is he'll slide it up and drop it in place when this bar completes. And obviously he's waiting on a good signal bar as well. So let's play this out and let you watch this trade, and then I'll just do all three of them. So here we go. And he's just waiting. When you put your orders in like this, be careful where you put them. Make sure they're way away, because this thing, you could all of a sudden get a big some kind of crazy spike. But anyway, keep them far enough away. But he drops it in. He's selling two contracts here. And there he goes. He's triggered. He moves his safety stop to one tick above the signal bar, not 8 ticks back, not in the middle of the bar. Doesn't matter. He hardly catches any heat here. You can see he's getting 3 or 4 maybe ticks of heat here, but it's just a few seconds and he's out of this trade. Boom. And he's made himself $100 right there. So anyway, that's a great trade. I mean, he followed the rules. He put his stop where it belonged. He didn't put it in the middle of the bar. He didn't try to put it 8 ticks back. I mean, I can't tell how many ticks that went back, but if it had been 8 ticks, they'd have probably got his. The stop hunters would have got his stop, and you could see them taking it back, trying to grab as many of the probably stops as they could after that triggered, and that's what they do. If you put there's a reason. I'm going to say this again. There's a reason why we put our stop one tick above or below the signal bar. Go back and look at all these high points that are turning points. Prices can never breach those. They tried right here. They could not breach that low. They couldn't breach this low. Prices never came close to this high again. They tried right here to take it back up, but there's a reason we put them. Look at all these high points and low points. Right here was a good one. They tried several times to come back. Couldn't do it. But if you had your stop, if this, just assuming you were, let's say you were going long right above that bar, because that's probably a good high or low. It's a little congested, but it's way away from the EMA. So let's say you go long right there. Look, they tried to get, and if you'd had your stop back in here anywhere, you probably got stopped out. But if you had it where it goes, one tick below, you're safe. Same thing here. Same thing here. Same thing here. Go study the chart. Don't take my word for it. Just trust me that I'm telling you it works, and go study it and figure it out for yourself. There's a reason why we don't worry about the size of the signal bar. If you're reading the chart properly, your signal bar is going to be set. It doesn't matter how big it is. Look at all these turning points. Prices never go back and take them out. Now, obviously, you got to get to the point you can read the chart and find these places. But until then, put your stop where go get on the sim. You need to be on the. People will try to start trying to practice and learn trading live. You're wasting your money. You're just going to be a donor. I don't care if you're with one of these proprietary firms or not. You're still just churning your money. So put your money in your account and let it be safe while you learn, because you're going to need it when you try to go live. And you're not going to be ready to go live anywhere near as quick as you think you are, especially if you're not following the rules. If you try to go for 8 ticks or put your stop somewhere different because you're afraid of these risk reward stop loss ratios that you hear everybody talk about, but everybody's a loser. 90% of these people are losers, and they're the ones talking about all this stuff. There's a reason they're losers. Take my word on this. Okay, I didn't mean to. This is 2 days in a row I've got on this rant, but man, you cannot convince people. 90% of what you read about trading is wrong, and that's why 90% of traders lose. So if you want to go out there and read in these forums and listen to these, look, winning traders are not hanging out in forums. The people in these forums are just like you. They're trying to learn to trade, and there's always somebody in there. I'm not saying there's not anybody in there that can't trade, but if they're a consistent trader and they're making good money every day, they're not in that forum. They're trading. And if they do come in there and tell you what works, people are going to argue with them and tell them they're wrong. Just like people argue with me and tell me you can't trade for 4 ticks and have an 8 tick stop or bigger. I do it. I mean, I see it every day. I show it every day. I take that back. I don't show it every day, but I show it all the time. And all you got to do is just go do it. Just try it. Don't believe me. Just go to the simulator and work on it. And if you can read this chart, that's another thing. I'm going to say this real quick. We are not pattern traders. People will see second entries all over here. I get 100 emails a day. Why'd this second entry fail? Because they weren't good setups. There are second entries. They're a pattern we look for. We're not pattern traders. We're only interested in a pattern if it sets up where we expect it to set up and does what we expect it to do. Otherwise, I mean, there's second entries all over this chart. Doesn't mean I'm interested in trading them. So if I don't mark a second entry on the chart, you don't have to send me it to them and ask me why I didn't mark it. It's because it wasn't a good trade. You should try to figure that out yourself. If you can't, look, if you study that chart and you can't figure it out for yourself, then you got a long way to go. And then you can send it to me. Every once in a blue moon, there's a really difficult one. It looks really good. It could probably even fool a good trader. If you send me one like that, that's great, because people probably do need help with those. But 99% of these second entries are just a second entry that popped up on a chart, and because you probably started learning this stuff somewhere else and listened to somebody else, it's just some yahoo taking what we teach and trying to capitalize on it. You're not going to learn the right things. And every time it's always, well, they change this, they go for more than 4 ticks. Look, there's no reason you can't do what we do and try to be get bigger moves. There's no reason you can't do that. But we're scalpers. This strategy is designed for scalps. Now, you can use the strategy to get into longer term trades, but most of these trades are designed to get 4 ticks, nothing more, 4 ticks. And that's why we use the runner. So when we do, and we only do that in trends, because that's where you tend to get the big runners is at the key entry point, which is this trend line right here. Those setups are where you tend to get the bigger runners. Now, when you start chopping sideways like this, unless you're at a turning point like this one right here, you may not go for a runner. Just scalp out. Just get your scalp and get your little profit and go, because you're probably going to get stopped out at break even on your runner. Here he's just scalping. That's all he's doing. He's not trying to get any runners. And he had 3 trades here in one day that were all winners. So just keep that in mind. If you want to be a swing trader and go for more, by all means, work on that. In that case, yeah, you probably, can go for more ticks. but you're going to get stopped out a whole lot more. So you're going to have to get some really big moves. You can't go for eight ticks is not going to do it. You're probably going to need to try to get this whole move here. Because if you just get 8 ticks, and then the next time you try to get a swing and you have a loser, and you're going for 8 ticks, and you're going to have more failures, and so, or you get stopped out, it's the same thing. The key is to get good enough to where you can take these trades and get your 4 ticks every time. I mean, think about it. If you entered, let's just do this trade. If you entered right here on this bar, and so you enter 1 tick below that, well, you only have to go 5 ticks from there to get out. So that's right there. Before you go all the way up here and break an important resistance place, which is probably a lot more than 4 ticks. It's probably 8 or 10 or 12 or 15 ticks. So if you can't find a place to enter that you can get 4 or 5 ticks before it goes 8 or 10 or 12 against you, and lately it could be 15 or 20, then you're not a very good chart reader. You're not ready to be trading live anyway. So you need to be on the simulator practicing. But you can't tell people that. People will not listen to that. And they think they're smarter than everybody else. They think they're going to have more success quicker than everybody else did. Everybody comes in here thinks that, especially if they're highly intelligent. And, I thought the same thing when I started. I thought, I'm going to be different than everybody else. I'm going to do this and figure this out. And I'm going to go live. And just like everybody else, I was a donor for a long time. Got tired of being a donor. That's how I stumbled on this process. I mean, every trade I would take, I would be in the money. But I'd try to get more. And the next thing you know, I get stopped out and I have a loss. I'm like, I'm just going to start taking a little profit. And the next thing you know, I did that. And the next thing you know, when I'm making money, I'm like, why did I think about this earlier? And then I got to think, well, look at all the profit I missed on this trade right here, because look at it take off. And it never checked up. It just took off. And so I said, well, let's take a profit on part of them and save 1 or 2 to see if I can get an extra runner. If I get stopped out, I still make money. I'll go to break even plus 1. That way I still don't lose my commission. It's like a wash, basically, on those extra contracts. They don't cost me anything unless I have a loser. Now, if I have a loser, they cost me a little extra. But if you're winning at a high clip, most of the time they're gonna be a wash for you, because you're gonna get stopped out at break even plus 1. But when it takes off, like this right here, you might get 4, 5, 10, 15. You might get 20 tick points, and that erases all your losers plus some. It's all bonus money. It should erase most of your losers if you're winning at an 80 or 90% clip. So the strategy works. The problem is, can you do it? Do you have the discipline and the patience to do it? This trader's doing really well. And anyway, this was supposed to be about live trades, and I've gotten off on one of my tangents, but I think it's important to get this across to people. I try to tell people, and people just don't listen. If you want to be successful, just try it. Don't believe me. Just get on the simulator and do it and see. Obviously, first you got to learn to read the chart, and you need to do that on the simulator anyway. But once you understand what prices are doing and what they're attempting to do, I mean, we know this was a big downtrend, and we've got a break now of this channel. So what prices? We know prices are going to try to test this low, and you probably would have thought they were going to do it here, but no, they made another leg up. Well, they're still going to come back and try it again. And they'll try it multiple times until, if it fails enough, it might take off without a new low. Because maybe it's a range, or maybe there's just some super support here that they're not going to get through on this today, or this trading day. But they're going to try to retest that low. And somebody the other day, I talked about this in the video yesterday, the chart lesson, that somebody contacted me, and he can't understand why he's struggling after so many years, and he admitted to me he didn't even understand what I meant about retesting lows or retesting highs after a break. That's the basics of what we do. Get the manual out and read it. And read it. You can't read that. There's so much in that manual. You can't read it once or twice and get it all. You're going to miss it. There's just too much there. There's too much to take in. It may seem trivial and it may seem easy, but there's more to it. And you got to read it over and over like a study manual. And because some parts build on other parts, and it just takes some time. So anyway, let's get the next trade in here. Okay, here's his next trade. Let's set this one up. Once again, we're in a downtrend. We've had a break here. We do not have a new low in place yet. So prices attempted. They had two legs down here, didn't quite get it, and so they correct again. And it looks like he's anticipating. He's already had a second entry short. Notice the new low here, and you're moving up. You get a first entry, and you get a close outside, a new high, and he could have gone short right there on the second entry, and that would have been another scalp. But he's being smart here, and I mean, he could have taken that trade too. But the smart thing to do would be to see if you get a lower high here. And it appears that's what he's looking for, a lower high. You can see he's got his sell stop in here, and if he gets a setup, he'll slide it up there. So let's watch this trade. All right, prices appear to be doing exactly what he's expecting here. Exactly what you would expect reading the chart. You got to know how to read a chart first. Then you look for your then you know which way to look for your entries and which way your expectations are for the chart, for the prices to go or whatever. And we know they're going to probably retest the lows on this. How do we know that? Because we got years and years of experience watching it and seeing it happen over and over and over and over. There's his stop. He's got a little stem there, but that's still in the lower 1/3. There it is. He's in. Look where he tried to put his stop where it goes, and he couldn't even get it there. You see how fast that moved? The guy was in that trade 10 seconds, 5 seconds. Let's watch that again. I want to see that. See more. I want to watch it again. Okay, here we go. Watch how quick this is. Look how bearish that is. And he's not worried about where his safety stop is. He's sure not putting it 8 ticks back.
Order submitted.
Doesn't matter. That trade took zero heat. It opened and went straight down and went 2 points in a blink. So you probably could have got a nice runner off that if you're trying to get runners. But you see that big downtrend. He's just playing the downtrend. But anyway, we've got one more here. Let me pause this and we'll watch the next one too, because they're all good trades. Okay. Now he's got another downtrend here, and he's got a first entry, and he's looking for a second entry short here, right off the EMA. He's got his first convincing close outside that trend channel. He's expecting prices to retest this low. He's ready to drop his order in there. This is how you can get them in there quick, especially when the market's moving fast. You may not have to do it like this if the market's not moving real fast. There's a good bit of stem on that one. I'm not as crazy about this one because of the amount of stem, but it's still a second entry, still a good trade. I think it's still worth showing just to watch how he does it. He's got his entry order 1 tick below that signal bar. I mean, this is a pretty bearish day, so I might have
Order
waited.
submitted. Order
See,
failed.
he can't even move his safety stop to where it goes because it happens so fast. Let's watch this one more time.
Order submitted. Order failed.
I mean, that trade, he was in and out in 2 seconds maybe. Now, look how far prices had to move in his direction before they moved all the way back up here to get his safety stop. Well, he didn't even have time to move his safety stop. That's another thing. If you set up the ATM like this, don't have your safety stop come in too close because sometimes it'll trigger and jump back trying to get run those stops. So I always say keep your safety stop maybe 5 or 6 points back, and that way you just can move it down real quick or move it up real quick. It's not right in the middle of the trade somewhere where it could accidentally. Let's see where he's putting his here. Let's watch it one more time. Okay, yep. So he's putting his back. He's only putting his safety stop back 2 points. So for this trader, I'm not going to call his name or anything like that. But for this trader, I would recommend that you probably start this thing maybe 5 or 6 points back. I mean, it's a catch-22 because the idea is in case it did shoot off, you don't want to lose too much. But sometimes when it's real volatile, 2 points is nothing. And you could get stopped out on a good trade like that. So I recommend putting it, I think I start mine back 4 or 5 points. So it's usually above my signal bar or below it, and then it's much easier to drag it down real quick to one tick above or one tick below. So that's what I recommend. But you see here, he's in this trade literally 2 seconds maybe. I don't even know if it lasts 2 seconds. He can't even move his safety stop. It's so fast.
Order submitted. Order failed.
And he's done. And so this is some really good trading. I'm not as crazy, but I probably would have said you got to hold on that. I might have made it green if it's a really, you can't see the rest of his chart. If it's like one of those, if this was that really one of those really bearish days where it's just down all day, probably take that trade. But that doesn't quite close in the lower 130. I think it needs to close a few more ticks down to truly qualify. So just a few. But that's the thing here. If you follow the rules by entering where you're supposed to and putting your entries where you're supposed to put them, he's following the. You can make mistakes on your chart reading and still have winners if you follow the rules. Now, he's looking only for a short here. I mean, that looks pretty bullish. And what happens is you get all these people want to think, okay, I'm going to pick a bottom and go long, when you should be thinking enter with a trend. Because on a trend this long, the first convincing close outside, it may rally for 15 minutes, but eventually it's going to turn down again. And that's the thing. You got to get your timing right on when it's turning. And so it's important not to be early. That's why we draw these trend channels, wait for a break and then a new high, because that is telling you this trend is ending. And so that first break, it's going to get a retest of that high. You don't know that it's going to, sometimes in a downtrend here, it might hit this trend channel and turn back down, and you may take that second entry without that new high. But the expectation is to just wait and see if you get a new high and then start looking for an entry. And that's what he did here. He's following the rules. So even though his signal bar wasn't perfect, it was a great trade, and he still won, and he was in and out in 2 seconds. So if you follow the rules, which means enter where you're supposed to enter, one tick below, put your safety stop where it's supposed to go, one tick above the signal bar, don't enter on the next bar, only on this one. The only rule he really broke here, in my opinion, was this is a questionable signal bar. But it's obviously a bearish day. I'd probably mark that green at best, just because of the signal bar. But there's another thing too to look at here is not only is he got two legs back in the second entry, but it's somewhat congested and sideways. It's like a little range you break out of, but still you need a good signal bar. So that's my only. He had three trades here. I liked all three of them. The only thing I can say bad about any of them, and it's not really even that big a deal, is his signal bar. I'm a stickler about those signal bars. Yes, you'll see these trades work all the time with questionable signal bars, but you'll see them fail too. But when you have a good signal bar, they rarely fail. So it's just another way that you can, by following the signal bars and making sure it's qualifies, is just another way to filter the bad trades out. Yeah, you'll miss some good trades. No, if you follow the rules, you're going to miss good trades. But I get people, they'll send me their charts. I missed this trade. Can you believe it? I wanted to take it so bad, but it wasn't a perfect setup. And they did the right thing. And I said, hey, you did the right thing because I wouldn't mark that trade. I wouldn't take that trade. Well, I knew it was going to work. I knew, and I didn't have the guts to take the trade. I couldn't pull the trigger. But they did the right. If you miss a trade and you did the right thing, you can't never look back. That's the next thing I'm going to try to tell you is never look back. Once a trade's over, it's over. If you didn't take it, don't worry about it. If you did take it and it worked, don't worry about it till you study your trades at the end of the day. But you never look back at what could have been, might have, would have, should have, could have, because all that'll do, like this trade right here, this is a questionable entry. Let's say you entered right there and it went back and stopped you out. All right, actually, that's not really the best analogy. Let's say you wanted to take this trade and you didn't take it, and look at it go, and you say, I knew I should have taken that trade. Look, that it just didn't. But the signal bar is very questionable. There's congestion there, so that's a very questionable trade that I would probably never mark, not enter. But let's say you wanted to enter there, and you're thinking that's going to be a great entry. And here's another thing. You got a new high here, so that's a first entry, second entry. So that is a continuation. That's a failed second entry long continuation pattern. So the signal bar doesn't really matter there. But let's just assume this was a second entry short, and you're going short, and you want to go short there, and it's right off the key entry point. You want to enter so bad, you know prices are probably going to drop, and you don't take it, and it does. Don't look back at that. Don't second guess yourself because you followed the rules. Because the next time, if you second guess yourself, the next time that sets up and you'll take the trade, and guess what will happen? It'll fail on you. It'll tick lower and turn back up, stop you out, and then go exactly where you thought it was going to go. So if you followed the rules, never look back. That's the point I'm trying to make. Just concentrate on following the rules. You got to be super disciplined, and you got to be super patient. You got to wait on these setups. Sometimes they don't come for 30 minutes. So the live trade I did the other day, you saw me. I had to wait 30 minutes. I kept pausing the video and restarting it because I never got a setup. But once I got one, I took it. It was a great trade. So you have to be patient. You have to follow the rules. And sometimes that means sitting on your hands and doing nothing I've seen days where you have to sit for an hour or two, or maybe even 3 hours. They're rare, but they happen. Market's not moving much. There's a lot of sideways stuff. You might have to sit there 3 hours. So anyway, this was a good learning opportunity, a great opportunity to see somebody that's new, that's following our strategy, and look at the success he's having. 3 trades. I think these were all, I don't know if these were all on one day. I didn't really look at the dates and all that, but I think they were all on the same day. So this one was March. I'm going to go back and look real quick and see if they were all on the same day. No, these were not all on the same day. It looks like they were the 7th, the 11th, and the 12th. So, maybe he's taking his one trade a day, making his $100 per day, and he's happy. And that's another thing I'll say is when you get ready, let's say that's what he's doing. He's gone live. He's trying to make him $100 a day. I don't know that. I'm just assuming that maybe that's what he's doing. Maybe he only sent me the one trade. But let's assume he's trying to make $100 a day. And we've seen the 7th, 11th, and 12th, we saw him make his $100. And assume that's what he's trying to do. And eventually he's going to want to make $200. So maybe he's going to go to 4 contracts and scalp out. And then he's going to make $200 a day. So that's the idea, is not to take more trades, because every time you go into the market, there's a risk of a loss. So you only want to take 1 to 3 tops trades per day, and you want them to be the sure things. And you can find 1 to 3 sure things every day. You might have to wait, you might have to sit, you might have to be patient, you might have to have discipline, but they're there. And so the idea is to get 1 to 3 of them per day, forever. You're never going to take any more than that. Even if you want to make $1 million a year, you're never going to take any more trades of that. You're just going to increase your leverage. And you have to do that slowly, because when, I've talked about this before. People ask me, why don't you just trade 100 contracts and get 1 trade a day? Because when you got 100 contracts on, it's $1,250 every tick against you. And that messes with you mentally. It does me. I can't handle it. I start screwing up. My mind goes to mush, and I just can't handle it. And I don't need to, because I can trade 20 contracts a trade and easily still make $1 million a year. So you don't need to be able to trade. You don't take multiple trades. You want to take 1 to 3 trades. The fewer, the better. If you can get 1 trade and get a runner and get your target, you need to know what your target is every day monetarily. And when you reach that target, close this thing up and go enjoy your life. That's why we do this, so that we don't answer to anybody else. We can work when we want to work. We can take off when we want to take off. I mean, if I was working for a corporate job, do you think I'd have been able to take almost a month off and go to Antarctica? No, they'd have fired me. But because I work for myself, I can come and go when I want to go. It's the greatest life. It's not an easy to get there, but once you get there, it's the greatest job ever. You just open it. If you need to make money, you open up the chart and you make money. Most 90% open up the chart and lose money, because they're feeding the 10% that know what they're doing, and while those 90% are banging their head against the wall trying to trade some strategy and crazy idea that listen to these yahoos all over the internet that don't know what they're talking about. They're losers. You're listening to losers that don't know what they swear that you got to do this or that, but they're not making a dime. So anyway, it's just make sure you understand the strategy. The goal is to take 1 to 3 trades per day, no more. The fewer, the better. If you can catch a runner on your first trade, let's say your goal's $1,000 a day, and you're going in with however many contracts. Let's say you can only trade 5. If you can only trade 5, then I would suggest you do 4, scalp out 4 and do 1 runner and get out at break even plus 1. So every time you take a trade, you make $200. With 4 contracts, you'd make $200. So maybe your target's $400 when you can trade only 4. And so that's 2 trades every day, if you don't get a runner that gets you the extra on the first trade. So then you only have to take 2 trades a day, as long as you don't lose anything. And if you have a day where you lose, maybe you just take that loss and come back the next day. But generally, if you're good enough at this, you'll make it back. You might have to take 3 trades that day to make it back. But you'll be shocked when you get good at this and you follow the rules, you'll be shocked at how long a winning streaks you can. I mean, I've had some winning streaks that people wouldn't believe it if I tell you. People won't believe it, because they'll say it's not possible. But you're only trying to get 4 ticks. And we're using a calculated strategy that works. only thing I can tell you is get on the simulator and do it and prove it. Don't believe me, do it and prove it to yourself. That's the other thing about trading on the simulator is it builds your confidence. You say, hey, this does work. And then you start following it and and you'll see, hey, if I just follow the rules, I make money every day. I can't tell you how many times I get an email that says, I don't know why I'm so hard-headed. If I just follow the rules, I make money every day. When I break the rules, I always lose. I mean, how often do you have to, it's like beating your head against the wall. Why beat your head against the wall if it doesn't work? If it gives you a headache, if you don't, I figured out if I don't beat my head against the wall, I don't have a headache. But every other day, I got a headache because for some reason I beat my head against the wall. How crazy does that sound? Well, it's no crazier than saying, well, every time I follow the rules, I'll make money, and when I don't, I lose. Well, why would you not follow the rules? Because human nature, it's human nature. That's just the way it is. And don't listen to other people. Don't go. I would say that's why I'll never do a trading room. I'll never do. I'll never have an open forum, even in our closed forum. At least we can control the narrative there. If somebody starts posting the wrong thing, and we can delete it or whatever. But if these open forums, you're going to get the wrong information and the wrong stuff 90% of the time, because traders that make money are not in there posting. It's losing traders trying to learn and there's always one or two Yahoo know-it-alls, and they're going to control the narrative and tell everybody in there they're wrong. You got to do this, you got to do that, and guaranteed they're not making one red thin dime trading. I've seen it over and over and over, and it's why I'm against those places. And I hate to be that way, but it's just the way it is there. Generally, you're not going to learn from other traders. This is a lonely business. I'll say this, and I'm going to wrap this up. This is a very lonely business, trading, because you're on your own. And people are social, so people want to make trading social, and that's the worst thing you can do. All you want is your skills. You think I want to be social when I'm I'm not interested in anybody else's opinion. I'm only interested in my skill set. Because if I listen to somebody else, I'm going to lose money. So why would I want to do that? I'm going to follow my skill set that I know understands how to read this chart and knows where to find the entries. So no, I'm not going to listen to anybody else. And that should be your thought and process too. But I get it. It's people are social, and they feel like they can learn something from somebody else. But it's like playing the piano. I can teach you the notes, and I can teach you, the keys and all that. But when it comes to being a good player, there's nothing I can do to make you be a skilled piano player. The way you become that is a practice. There's no other way. And trading is just like that. Practice. I can teach you the notes. I can teach you the keys, which is how to read the chart and what the rules are, what the expectations are on price moves. I can teach you all that. But the rest of it, you're only going to learn through practice and repetition, just like playing a musical instrument, just like flying, the only way do you want to get on a plane with a guy that's been flying for a week, or do you want to get on a plane with a guy that's been flying for years? I know what my answer is. I don't want to get on a plane with a guy that's been flying a week because he's not skilled enough. If we ran into a thunderstorm, he's liable to crash the plane, or he's liable to make any kind of mistake. But when you got to get on the plane with a guy that's been flying for 30 years, he's seen it all. He knows what to expect. He knows how to handle certain situations. So it's no different than any skill. I mean, if you're going to get up a basketball team and bet on it, do you want 5 professionals that play in the NBA, or do you want 5 yahoos off the street? You want the 5 professionals because they're good and they're experienced and they're skilled at it. They've been doing it for years. Trading is exactly the same. Don't 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 listen to street players. Listen to professionals. And there's not any in forums. They're not hanging out there. They don't go there. They're busy trading. They're not running trading rooms because they're busy. Why would you ever want to run a trading room? I know that you can make money at them. If you get enough people in there, yeah, you can make money at it. But you can make more money trading with no pressure and working a few minutes a day. So why would you want to have a trading room and go through all that stress and pressure and dealing with all those yahoos that are coming in there, and it doesn't even make sense. It doesn't compute. It's not. I'm telling you why they're doing it, because they're probably not making money trading, because the money's in the trading, not the teaching. If I add up all the money I make off this from doing what I do and selling manuals and doing the teaching, the things I sell, it's peanuts. I could probably do better working down at the 7-Eleven. I'd probably get a better hourly wage. And I'm not joking. There's no money in the money's not in the teaching. The money's in the trading. So anyway, this is 40 minutes worth. I didn't mean for this to be. I really wanted to just show 3 nice trades, but I think this was a good learning lesson. And I don't do many of these on YouTube. My YouTube lessons are not really designed to teach the strategy or anything like that. Those YouTube lessons are to show the traders that are trying to learn the strategy where the trades were that day, the ones that were most likely the ones they wanted to look for and trade. It's just a learning tool for our students. I'm not trying to teach how to trade on YouTube. That's not the goal, and that's not the strategy there. The strategy is just to come in, show you my chart, what I saw that day, show you the trades I see that would fit our entry criteria so you can learn to see them. That's all it's for. People will come on there and say, well, anybody can come out here and point. I could send that chart to 90% of those people, and they couldn't find one single one of those trades or understand why any of them set up like they did. Yeah, they could go and look and say, okay, well, there was a big move here. You should have entered there. But if you go and look at every trade I point out, you'll see our setup just like I teach it, just like I explain it, and you'll find out where 90% of them happen at these key entry points. It's always at important support and resistance, and that could be horizontal or angled. There's no difference in this support resistance line than this support resistance line. Just one of them is angled and one of them is horizontally flat, is flat and horizontal. They still act and do the same things. And they're both just as important. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for these important support resistance areas. And then I'm teaching you the rules to look to keep you with the trend until it's over, or how to trade the range if we're going sideways. Those are the important things. So a market can only do 3 things. It can trend up, trend down, or chop sideways. If it's trending up or down, we're trading trend rules, looking for second entries at the key entry point or lower highs, higher lows, whatever. That's what we're doing on trends. And if it's chopping sideways, we're playing range rules, and we're looking to enter at the support or resistance. If it's a humongous range and it's big enough to have trends within it, we can play those trends within the range. So you could wait till prices get to the range lows or highs and look for a trade, or you could trade our trend rules within the range as long as the trend's in play. So that's the basics of it. I mean, it's that simple, really. But understanding how to do that, narrowing it down and finding those points, it takes practice and skill. So you got to become skilled at it. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. Hope you have a great weekend. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and I'll see you on Monday.